Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this episode 3819 AN. Today's date is January 15th, 2026. And the title of the episode is The Central Bank is Panicking. The Battle for the Control of the Economy has begun. Let's talk about protecting our wealth. Retirement is getting harder to reach. Inflation and currency devaluation are eating away at our savings every year. That's why smart investors are turning to Bitcoin, not as a gamble, but as a global hedge backed by major funds, banks, and even government quietly stacking digital assets. After reaching an all-time high of 124,000 in October, Bitcoin has pulled back. Many see this as a perfect opportunity to invest before the next uptrend. When you invest with My Digital Money, you get US-based support and secure offline storage, so your crypto stays protected. You can even open a crypto IRA or roll over your existing 401k to enjoy valuable tax benefits. Don't let inflation steal your future. Protect and grow your digital assets today with MyDigitalMoney.com. MyDigitalMoney.com, smarter investing, safer storage, and better path to retirement. Let's get right into the economic collapse financial news. Now, the deep state, the corrupt politicians, the private West Central Bank, the World Economic Forum. You can see there is now a battle on who controls the economy. On one side, you had the central bankers that have been controlling the economy since 1913. They went full control, I think, when we came off the gold standard. And in 2008, 2009, they took control of pretty much everything. Now Trump is building the parallel economic system. He is basically competing against the central bank. He's going up against the central bank system. And now he wants to take full control of the economy. Now, of course, the central bank system, they don't want that to happen, because if he takes full control of the economic system, they lose control, which means they lose control of pretty much everything. And you could see that they will battle this out to the very, very end. And that's what we're starting to see the beginning phases of. You're seeing Trump going directly at the Federal Reserve. Now, of course, he's not saying, hey, we're going to get rid of it right now. We're going to just remove it. We're going to restructure it. He's going after the weak link, and that is Powell. That is the construction that they're doing in the Federal Reserve, showing the people that the Federal Reserve has no idea what they're doing. They don't benefit the people, and if they can't manage their own business, how are they going to manage the business of the United States of America? And Trump is showing everyone on the opposite side that, look, I'm the one who made the economy bounce back. I'm the one who kept the inflation down. I'm the one who lowered the fuel prices. I'm the one who is now bringing the jobs back to this country. I'm the one who's bringing investment into this country. Trump is the one who is doing all of this. Now, think about the mandate from the central bank system. Their mandate is for price stability, which is keep inflation level. Now, of course, have they done this? No, it's that 3,000%. The 2% number, the 2.5% number is the number right now. It's meaningless because the cumulative inflation is from 1971, when we came off the gold standard, to now. And if we're really at 2%, we'd be 2% over that amount. But we're not. So basically, they haven't they haven't lived up to their mandate. Now, is everyone fully employed? Take a look around the United States of America. Is everyone fully employed? No, they are not. If you remember, under the Biden administration / Obama, they had to fake the numbers to make you believe that everyone was employed. Now, of course, the central bank with all these PhDs, 3,000 of them or 30,000, whatever the number is, there's a lot of PhDs within the Federal Reserve. They didn't have any idea that Biden was lying to them. Now, if they didn't have any idea with all their calculations and everything that they're seeing out in the economy, then they have no business being in the spot that they're in today. And there's the proof right there. So they're not able to keep the employment up. They haven't. Actually, we've lost manufacturing since the Federal Reserve came into existence, and especially when we came off the gold standard. So are they meeting their mandates? No, they are not. Is Trump meeting the Federal Reserve's mandates? Absolutely. He's bringing the jobs back. He's bringing investment into this country. He's keeping inflation low. And when he starts paying off the debt, and remember, I don't believe that all this debt is we the people's debt. I do believe a lot of it has been done through criminal activity and a lot of it through the central bank system. So I don't think we're going to owe as much debt as everyone thinks we're going to owe. But when he starts paying off the debt, you know what's going to happen? All of a sudden, price stability is going to come back. And the people are going to be scratching their head going, how is this possible? He's paying off the debt, and all of a sudden, we're getting our buying power back. This is kind of odd. So what caused the problem? Oh, it's the central bank system. So could they ever manage price stability? Are they able to manage inflation? No, they're the ones who cause inflation. It's the way their system is set up. When you create currency out of thin air and you put more currency into circulation, you dilute the currency, which means the value of the currency declines and declines and declines, and it's worth absolutely nothing. We saw this in Weimar, Germany. You saw this in Zimbabwe. It's the same exact thing. So right now, you could see there's a battle. Trump is going to win this battle in the end because people are going to see that he is the one who is doing all these things. The Federal Reserve can't even manage the construction of their own facility. And they've been lying to the American people every step of the way. And once people see this, it's game over for the central bank system. And this is what we're seeing today. And think about this. We know the central bankers, the World Economic Forum, they wanted to bring us into the Green New Scam, the Great Reset. And part of their plan was controlling everything that you do. Control where you spend your money. If you speak against the government, they can shut that down. They wanted to control all your electric devices, your cars, everything. And they wanted to do this remotely. And I know a lot of people are like, no, that's a conspiracy. They're never going to do that. Well, out in Germany, they're doing just that. They're controlling the vehicles remotely. Lord Bebo put this out and said, German authorities forced Lexus to turn off the parking heating in Lexus cars just when it got cold and people needed it. Imagine you bought a car and paid for specific features, but the government just turns it off because it's not green. I'm not joking. Toyota used remote access to turn off their preheating, which is used to heat up the cars before driving. You would turn it on 10 minutes before driving somewhere, so your car is warm and de-iced already. Toyota spokesman Ralph Muller says the following. The pre-air conditioning is a free function of My Toyota app or Lexus Link Plus app. This function is still available for all pure electric vehicles and plug-in vehicles. For vehicles with conventional drive, this only works when the combustion engine is running. The legislator considers this an unnecessary running of the engine or an avoidable exhaust gas pollution, which is prohibited. This is not known to many users. In Europe, there is no uniform legal situation about which we have informed with a corresponding note in the app. In order to protect the vehicle users from fines, we have deactivated the function on these vehicles. So think about what they wanted to do globally. If they got their way and we went along with the Green New Scam and everyone was driving an electric car, they would have control over what you could do. Plus, you'd be paying for features, which is absolutely ridiculous. And you could see that not just that, but if they looked at your electricity in your home, they'd say, oh, you went past your carbon footprint. So we're going to have to shut off your TV. We're going to have to shut off a couple of lights. We're going to have to shut off one refrigerator if you have two. And we're going to have to limit the amount of electricity that you're using today. That is what they're going to do. And you could see at this point in time, it is no longer a conspiracy. It is truth. And you could tell that this whole climate thing is a gigantic hoax. All you got to do is look at the deep state players, the liberals. All you got to do is look at where they're purchasing their homes, like Obama, Kamala Harris, and the rest, Bill Gates, you name it. They all have ocean-front homes. Now, if the ocean is rising and we're worried about climate change, and we only have 10 years to survive this, which they said 10 years ago. And oh, wait, by the way, 10 years before that. Oh, wait, 10 years before that. Actually, if you go back to the 70s, they told us we're in an ice age and everything was going to freeze over. And then when the 80s, 90s came, all of a sudden, everything changed. We're in global warming because, again, the sun changes what's happening here on Earth. And now we're going through a cold period once again because, again, this goes in cycles. So if they were so worried about climate change, the oceans rising, why would they buy multi-million-dollar homes on the ocean? It makes no sense whatsoever unless they were lying to us, which we know they are. So Kamala Harris, hey, listen, if you're over 40 and planning to retire someday, the window to protect what you've built may be smaller than you realize. Here's a question most people never ask. Is your portfolio built for what's coming next? Many investors in their 40s and 50s discover they have little to no exposure to precious metals. That means their savings are largely tied to markets, policies, and paper assets, with very little protection if conditions change. As retirement moves from someday to on the horizon, protecting what you have already built becomes just as important as growing it. That's where Noble Gold Investments come in, helping investors investors reduce risk by adding physical gold to their portfolios. Right now may be a smart time to talk with Noble Gold Investments. No pressure, no sales gimmick, just clear answers and strategy built around our goals. Visit X22Gold.com and build your portfolio for the long term. That's X22Gold.com, or just click the link in the description. And remember, past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals involves risk. Consult your financial advisor before making investment decisions. She just bought a new $8 million mansion. Where did she buy it? Oh, no, not in the middle of California, not in the mountains, to be safe for those, rising oceans. Nope, she bought it in Malibu near the beach. So she must be very deeply concerned about the climate change that's happening right now. Why would she do that? I mean, Obama has his house in Martha's Vineyard and Hawaii. Does that sound like a man who's worried about climate change? Absolutely not. So there's the truth of the matter. They've been lying to us and pretty much lying about everything else. And you could see that once again, their entire agenda is completely and utterly falling apart, and the conspiracy has turned into truth. Now, Trump, every step of the way, he is now building up to the midterms because he knows the midterms are very, very important. And he knows that we need to improve this economy and help the people out in this country. Because you have to remember, when Biden/Obama, when they were in office, they destroyed the economy. Their entire mission was to bring the economic system down. Of course, they lied about the statistical information that they were giving to the Fed, giving to everyone else, and they lied about the job numbers. And basically, they wanted inflation. They wanted high fuel costs. They wanted the entire system to break down because, again, their plan was to bring us into the Great Reset. And Trump, when he came into office, he had to take the recession that we're in. I do believe if we go back a little bit in time, which I do believe they will, we will see that we were in a recession during Biden/Obama's term. When Trump came into office, we were in a recession, and Trump is bringing us out of the recession that we were in. And now the economy is improving rapidly. So for Trump, what he's doing, he's going to make it easy for the people every step of the way. Yes, he's lowering the fuel prices. Yes, he's leveling off inflation. The other inflation just doesn't go away. It stays there because, again, it's cumulative. And what else is he doing? Well, he's bringing in investment. He's bringing in jobs. Factories are being built. Construction jobs are happening right now. And to make it a little bit easier for the people, he's basically capping the interest rate on credit cards because people have been surviving on credit cards. Think about this for a second. The only reason we have credit cards today is because the central bank fiat system does not work for the people. When you lose value and you continually lose value over time and you lose 3,000%, people cannot live on the paychecks that they're receiving. They need credit to assist and they need to make smaller payments. This is what they have done. And Trump knows to give people relief, we need to lower the interest on the credit cards. Now, he's forcing the Federal Reserve to lower the interest rates, and they're doing it very, very slowly. So he decided, you know what? I'm going to bring the interest rates down on the credit cards. And just the other day, we mentioned how Trump put out a post letting everyone know that he's going to cap the interest rate for a year at 10%. Trump also put out that everyone should support great Republican Senator Roger Marshall's Credit Card Competition Act in order to stop the out-of-control swipe fee ripoff. Roger is a fantastic senator, President DJT. Dr. Roger Marshall responded to Trump and says, big banks rake in billions from credit card swipe fees, while hardworking Americans pay the price. Let's end these fees and save families thousands. And that's absolutely true because, again, every time you swipe the card, they get paid. And you think it's not coming back to you, but it is. So once again, Trump is shutting it all down. And this is all part of the central bank system, if you really think about it, because this all goes hand in hand. Because, again, if we didn't have a currency that was continually losing value, we wouldn't have to depend on credit cards. If you go back in time, there was no such thing as credit cards. People were able to do business with the cash that they had. Now they can't. But with Trump building the parallel economic system, you could see that what's going to happen is Trump is going to challenge the central bank system, and he's going to show people that his system works a lot better than the central bank system. Actually, it's going to outshine it. And as Trump deports the illegals that are in this country, he's also showing people that, look, all the policies of the central bank, the policies of the D's, the policies of the fake news, they're the ones who also drove up housing costs, drove up lowered wages. People couldn't find a job. Crime was on the rise. And when you mass deport these people, you get lower housing costs. When you mass deport, you get higher wages. When you mass deport, you get more jobs. When you mass deport, you get lower crime. Quality of life increases. And that's what the White House is telling everyone right now. And you can see that it's happening in all the different cities. And it's getting better and better and better. And what we're seeing right now is we're seeing gold, we're seeing silver. They are starting to move up. Actually, silver is really starting to move up. I do believe the ratio between gold and silver, that is going to close over time. And we also see Bitcoin, it's starting to move up. It's getting close to $100,000 a Bitcoin. Once again, I think it's at 96,000 or something like that. But you could see that silver, it is on the rise. And basically what is happening right now is you can see that the actual real sound money, it's going to be showing the people of this country how bad the fiat currency is. And let's go back a little bit in time, because remember, the coins that we had, and we know that the fiat currency has devalued so much that we can't even produce the pennies. It costs too much money to produce a penny. It costs something like 3 or 4 or 5 cents to create that penny. But going back in time, all the change that you had, like the pennies, the nickels, the quarters, the dimes, especially the nickels, dimes, and quarters, they were actually silver. And the reason why they had the little edges like on the quarters and the half dollars and the full dollar is because back in the day, people would file off the silver, and without the rough edges around it, you wouldn't know. So you were getting less silver than the coin was actually worth because they filed away some of it and you really couldn't tell with the coin. So they put those little rough edges around the coin. So this way you could tell if someone filed off the edges. But when you look back in time, pre-1964, you could see that most of the coins, they were silver. And yes, they were mixed with copper and other things, but 90% were silver. And when you really look at it, the reason why they started to remove the silver from the coins is because sound money was a hedge against the fiat currency. Kevin Lynn put this out and said, a pre-1964 U.S. quarter contains 0.18084 troy ounces of pure silver. These quarters were made of 90% silver and 10% copper, with a total weight of 0.2009 troy ounces. Today's spot price is $93. Now it's fluctuating. We know it's around 90, 89, but let's just use 93. That means a pre-1964 quarter is worth a little over $16, roughly 67 times its face value. 4 of these quarters might have the face value of $1, but their actual value is $64. So think about it. Think about what the central bank had to do over time. The actual sound money, silver and gold, is worth more than the paper currency. So why did they replace the silver in all these coins? Because they couldn't allow the coins to be worth more than their fiat currency. But this shows you the truth. So today, if you went back in time and you buried $1 worth of quarters, and let's say you buried $30 worth of quarters, and you buried 30 pieces of paper, which equal $30, and basically you dug them up today, which is worth more, the fiat currency or the actual coins that had silver in it? Which maintained its value? Well, the $30 is not worth $30. I'm talking about the pieces of paper, the fiat currency. It lost 98% of its value, so it's pretty much worth nothing. And when you look at the $30 in quarters that are silver, they're worth a lot more. This tells you everything you need to know. And this is what people are starting to figure out. This is what people are starting to understand, is there's a very big difference between the fiat paper currency that's been losing value over time, and there's a very big difference between sound money that retains its value over time. So I do believe as this information continually comes out and people start to recognize the difference, and we also have to realize that Costco is selling 1 ounce gold bars. There's a reason they're doing this and why they're selling out, because people are realizing, holy crap, gold keeps going up. Let me buy more gold. I think silver is another precious metal that everyone should hold right now. And actually, back when it was $15 an ounce or $18 an ounce or $19 an ounce, I think people should have purchased it back then. Now we're, anywhere from $88 to $93 an ounce. I do believe it's going to go much, much higher, just like gold is going to go much, much higher. Because again, when it's shown that the fiat currency is worth nothing and Trump starts to talk about sound money, talks about auditing Fort Knox and other places, revaluing the gold, this is when everything is going to change. We're already starting to see a change. I mean, I don't think anyone in their right mind at this point in time would ever imagine right now that silver would be at $90 or gold would be something like 4,500 plus. Because if you go back to during Biden's time or even before that, people would say, no, that'd be impossible. People would recognize that there's something wrong with the fiat currency. But I do believe gold is probably going to move up around $8, $9, $10, $11, $12,000. And I do believe that most likely silver will be around $300, $400, $500 when all's said and done. Because all you got to do is go back to the 1913 calculation of gold and silver, and it will tell you what the true value of the gold silver is today. And if you go to the US debtclock.org, it actually has a calculation and it tells you what the amount of gold be worth today per ounce, about $9,349. Silver would be around $1,184 if you use the 1913 calculation. So I think that tells you everything you need to know right there. And I think, yes, silver and gold, they're going to shoot up. And I don't think this is a conspiracy. I think when you start to look at the fiat currency and you look at the amount of inflation and what's been going on, you can see this is what they've been hiding for a very long time with the paper markets. They've been suppressing gold and silver because, again, if they allow gold and silver just to do what it does best, we would be at 99,000, 10,000, 11,000. Silver would be at, anywhere between $500 to $1,000 an ounce. And people would say, okay, why is this? What's going on here? Is the fiat currency? Is there a problem with the fiat currency? And then people would start to realize that there is. Remember, the central bank has been using their illusionary tactics for a very, very long time. And they've been manipulating the calculations for a very long time. So this way, the people of the country wouldn't be the wiser of what's really going on. And when you go back in time, you can see all the tricks that they used. They had to move manufacturing out of here. They had to introduce credit. They had to introduce payment plans. They had to do all of these things to convince you that the economy was sound. Then they had to manipulate the GDP calculation, the unemployment calculation. You name it, everything they did was in a manipulation to convince you that everything was fine. Especially they had to create the paper markets for gold and silver to convince you that, look, the fiat currency's strong as anything. Nothing's really happening here. See, gold and silver's not moving up. And all they did was continually throw paper at the gold and silver market. Now, if everyone wanted to collect the physical gold and silver, there wouldn't be enough. And that should tell you everything you need to know. So I do believe in the end, this battle on who controls the economy, you could see Trump, he's throwing a lot of punches right now, and soon we're going to have a knockout. The central bank will not even be able to compete. And in the end, Trump will control it all. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.